everyone. I know you guys have been learning about how technology in the world is changing. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience with technology. And just so you know, obviously I am deaf and my whole family is deaf as well. So the way you guys communicate in here, it's very hard for me to interact the same way. It kind of goes right over my head sometimes. So in 1983, I went to a school for the deaf in Oregon, and I picked up so much language and learned so much. It was amazing, and I really loved my experience there. But I did very much miss my family. It was hard for me. So every week I would call my parents on TTY, which, wow, was that tough. Do any of you have had experience with the TTY? No? All right, well, let me explain a little bit. So basically it looks like this box with a phone on it and a typewriter as well. And it's got a screen where you read, the person on the other end types to you, and it's got a screen where the words come up, and then the other person is also on a TTY, so as you type, your words show up on their TTY. So my mom and I use TTY all the time. And using the TTY, you type English, which is very hard for us because being that we always signed in our house, growing up, it was very confusing. English was not our first language. So unfortunately our communication tended to be very surface level, what's been going on, how are you, short and sweet. And, it was sad because unfortunately we weren't able to talk in depth like how I would like to talk to my mom. It's when I was a senior, we got VRS, which means Video Relay Service. And I'll explain a little bit about what that is. So you have a TV, and on top of it sits a video phone. My mom unfortunately didn't have one though, but I had it in my school. So I would have to call a VRS company, and there were interpreters that worked there. And so we could see each other on the TV screens, and we could sign back and forth. And it just opened up a whole new world for us. We didn't need to, type in English. We could sign in our native language. So I would call this video relay service. I would get an interpreter who would then call my mom on the phone. Oh, I'm sorry, interpreter error. I indicated that that her mom was deaf. She's actually hearing, so she would call her mom on the phone. So it was really nice because it was almost as good as speaking to her directly. I could communicate with the interpreter. She said exactly what I was signing right to my mom, and we could have the in-depth conversations that we had always wanted to. You know, I mean, obviously it wasn't 100% foolproof, but, you know, you have to understand you didn't always get the best interpreters. This one time, I got an interpreter and she didn't sign in the style that I'm used to. I sign American Sign Language, and the way she was signing was more English. So I just knew this was not going to work. I just turned her right off. I called back and I got a new interpreter. And then, you know, we were able to communicate a little bit better. So the TTY and the VRS, they're obviously very different. The TTY is slow. Man, it's tough. So at the end of your typing on the TTY, you have to type GA. That means for the other person to go ahead and take their turn. And so there's a lot of waiting. It's back and forth. You have to wait for the other person to type, and then you read, and then respond. And sometimes you have things that are coming across, and you're reading, and you know you can't stop and interrupt. I mean, it might be wrong, but there's nothing you can do until you hear the other person, or until you see the other person give you the GA, go ahead. And so that can be very frustrating. So with the VRS, it's a lot easier to interrupt an interpreter because it's real time and you're seeing the interpreter right away. So if she's saying something, I can stop her and be like, no, tell my mom she's wrong. One downside of the VRS, though, sometimes hearing people really do not know how to use the VRS, and that can be really hard. I'll give you an example. So I was looking for a new apartment last week, and you know there's a lot of questions that you want to ask when you're looking around. So I called the VRS and wanted to talk to the person who was renting the apartment. And the woman who worked there picked up the phone and just really didn't understand what was going on and thought something was very suspicious because when they call, they say, you know, I'm from this video relay service, I'm interpreter number blah, blah, blah. And this woman just didn't understand. She had never experienced that before. So she thought, oh, is this person trying to sell me something? She immediately hung up. So I asked the interpreter to please call back and please explain what this service is. So the interpreter called back and finally it worked out, and I was able to ask all the questions I needed to.